Have you ever experienced the profound, agonizing disorientation of a man who vanished into thin air, leaving you entirely consumed by anxiety, only to reappear weeks later with a remarkably casual message, acting exactly as if he never left? Society often conditions you to simply be grateful that he finally came back, but I am here to explicitly warn you that this is not a harmless return. It is the beginning of a deeply sinister psychological game known as ghostlighting. Today, we are fully dissecting the dark, manipulative psychology behind the man who disappears and then fiercely blames you for actually noticing his absence. We will explore his cowardly motives, the fatal, desperate trap most women fall into when trying to prove their reality, and the ultimate, elegant reaction, the Velvet Guillotine, that will permanently sever his access to your magnificent empire. If you are entirely exhausted from questioning your own sanity for a man who absolutely refuses to take accountability, you must drop everything and listen to me very closely. Welcome to Destiny's Decree. The sudden, entirely inexplicable disappearance of a man you were consistently dating is already a profoundly traumatic experience for your delicate nervous system. You spend agonizing days and entirely sleepless nights staring at a completely silent mobile phone, meticulously dissecting every single past conversation. You desperately search for the exact imaginary moment you supposedly ruined the connection, inadvertently taking the entire burden of his sudden departure squarely onto your own shoulders. The profound silence is deafening, and just as you finally begin to painfully heal and gracefully accept his permanent absence, the phantom abruptly resurrects. He slides back into your digital reality with a remarkably mundane, shockingly low-effort text message, perhaps a simple, lazy, "Hey, stranger," or a casual inquiry about your weekend plans. He categorically does not offer a profound, tearful apology, nor does he provide a dramatic, understandable explanation for his sudden vanishing act. He speaks to you with the exact same familiar, comfortable tone he used before he disappeared, entirely expecting you to seamlessly pick up the conversation exactly where it was so violently interrupted. To the untrained, anxious eye, this might mistakenly appear to be a simple, harmless attempt to warmly reconnect. However, my dear, you must categorically understand that this unexpected resurrection is nothing short of a highly calculated, deeply toxic test of your personal boundaries. He is actively returning to the scene of his emotional crime to carefully observe if you have kept the velvet rope to your magnificent empire completely unguarded. He is fully anticipating that your deep, lingering anxiety will instantly transform into eager, desperate relief the moment his name flashes on your screen. He relies entirely on your fear of losing him again to guarantee that you will completely ignore his blatant disrespect and welcome him back with absolutely zero consequences. When a sovereign, high-value woman rightfully questions this entirely unacceptable gap in communication, the true, deeply toxic nature of this maneuver is violently unveiled. Instead of offering a sheepish apology or a valid, respectful explanation for his extended absence, he executes a chillingly calculated psychological pivot. He flatly, confidently denies that any disappearance ever took place. This is the precise, defining moment the familiar ghost abruptly transforms into a highly dangerous gaslighter, looking you directly in the eye and aggressively challenging your firm grasp on reality. He will flawlessly deploy incredibly dismissive, patronizing phrases designed to instantly minimize your valid concerns. He will casually claim, "I was just a little busy with work. You are completely overthinking this," or the absolute most infuriating, "What do you mean? We literally just spoke a few days ago." He forcefully attempts to rewrite the historical timeline of your connection, actively treating your highly accurate perception of his extended, agonizing absence as a wild, dramatic fabrication of your own mind. This deliberate, malicious distortion of reality is intricately designed to completely bypass your logical defenses and directly attack your feminine intuition. He deeply desires for you to profoundly question your own memory, hoping you will frantically scroll back through your messages to check dates and times, essentially making you feel as though your entirely justified frustration is actually a symptom of your own irrational anxiety. And the precise reason he employs this maddening, deeply disorienting tactic is rooted in a rather pathetic psychological flaw. To truly disarm this sophisticated manipulation, you must peer directly past his arrogant, dismissive facade and recognize the profound, staggering cowardice hiding just beneath the surface. The ghostlighter desperately craves the absolute VIP benefits of your premium energy, your captivating attention, and your romantic affection. But he is completely and utterly terrified of genuine accountability. He entirely lacks the fundamental masculine integrity required to look a woman in the eye and take ownership of his blatant disrespect. By successfully convincing you that the glaring, painful gap in communication is merely a figment of your own insecure imagination, he completely shields himself from ever having to offer a genuine, uncomfortable apology. He brilliantly shifts the entire emotional burden of the conflict directly onto your shoulders. He forces you into a desperate, exhausting position where you are suddenly fighting to fiercely defend your own sanity, entirely forgetting to hold him accountable for his incredibly toxic, avoidant behavior. This is the ultimate coward's shield, a highly calculated mechanism used to meticulously maintain absolute control and dominance over the relationship dynamic without investing a single ounce of genuine emotional effort. He fully expects you to become so thoroughly exhausted and deeply confused by his relentless, steadfast denial that you will eventually drop the subject entirely, simply to restore a fragile peace. However, in attempting to fight this deeply toxic delusion with standard logic, most women walk directly into a devastating, fatal trap. When presented with this infuriating, calculated distortion of reality, the immediate, completely natural instinct of a deeply logical woman is to violently fight back with irrefutable evidence. You feel a sudden burning need to meticulously prove that you are not losing your mind, frantically gathering your digital receipts to present your case in the court of his opinion. You begin taking desperate screenshots of the empty chat logs, calculating the exact number of agonizing days he was absent, and writing fiercely logical paragraphs to painstakingly prove the precise timeline of his sudden disappearance. This, my dear, is the exact catastrophic trap he has so meticulously laid out for you. The absolute second you step into the arena to passionately argue your reality, you have already lost the war. By desperately trying to convince a committed liar of the truth, you are actively giving him the precise ammunition he needs to seamlessly flip the script entirely. He will look at your screenshots, your carefully constructed timelines, and your entirely justified frustration, and he will remarkably weaponize your own logic against you. He will immediately, triumphantly label you as obsessive, intensely dramatic, or the classic, highly toxic favorite, completely crazy. He uses your frantic need for the truth as absolute, undeniable proof that you are indeed the unstable one in the dynamic, entirely validating his fabricated narrative and beautifully securing his deeply coveted role as the innocent victim. To successfully avoid being permanently locked in this exhausting, maddening funhouse of mirrors, you must categorically refuse to ever argue with a man who is actively attempting to rewrite your history. A truly sovereign, high-value woman intimately understands that her precious reality is entirely non-negotiable. When a man boldly looks you in the eye and attempts to gaslight you into doubting your own clear intuition, you categorically do not step into the courtroom to present your evidence. You simply, elegantly dismantle the entire court. I introduce to you the ultimate, definitive response to the Ghostlighter, the Velvet Guillotine. It is a profoundly elegant, remarkably swift execution of your boundaries, completely devoid of any emotional mess or desperate pleas for understanding. When he drops that casual, reality-distorting text message, entirely denying his absence, you do not send a furious closing paragraph explaining exactly why he is incredibly toxic. You do not demand a final dramatic conversation to gracefully seek closure. You simply let the heavy velvet blade drop in absolute deafening silence. You block his phone number, you entirely remove him from your social media, and you instantaneously revoke his VIP access to your magnificent empire. You do not explain your departure, you simply become the permanent absence he pretended to be. This perfectly executed silent severance leaves the manipulator completely and utterly powerless. He entirely expected a passionate fight, a desperate negotiation, or an anxious plea for his affection. Instead, he is met with an impenetrable, chilling void. By gracefully refusing to engage with his delusion, you entirely protect your sanity and permanently lock him out of your premium reality. You brilliantly flip the power dynamic, leaving him to wander as a permanent, forgotten ghost in the magnificent, thriving kingdom of your absolute peace. Ultimately, my dear, a man who disappears and then fiercely blames you for noticing his absence is not a complicated, mysterious prize to be won. He is a deeply insecure coward who is entirely unfit for your premium reality. Your absolute power lies in your profound ability to protect your sanity and let the velvet guillotine fall without a single moment of hesitation. Now, I have a rather vital question for you. What is the absolute most ridiculous, reality-distorting excuse a ghostlighter has ever confidently given you after reappearing from the dead? Expose his pathetic delusions in the comments below. I always read every single one. If you are entirely ready to protect your empire and truly master the unspoken dynamics of high-value psychology, ensure you subscribe to Destiny's Decree and firmly ring the notification bell. Until next time, trust your flawless intuition and keep your blade perfectly sharp.